Okay, so this is rewrite formulas and equations. Okay, so first off we need to know what a formula is. And formula is just an equation that uses two or more quantities, usually represented by variables. Okay, and on page 26, if you take a look, there's a nice list of formulas that you're going to be needing for the homework. So if you ever look at a formula and you're like, what does that mean? It lists out everything that you need for it. Okay, excuse me. We also have solve for a variable, okay? And this simply is to rewrite a formula or equation so that the desired variable is by itself on one side of the equation, okay? So if we look, example 1 says solve d equals r times t for a, first solve it for r, and b, solve it for t, okay? So if I look at a, I have d equals r times t. Well, if I want to solve for r, that means I want to get this one by itself. And in order to get this one by itself, I have to get the t over to the other side. Okay, and in order to do that, since I have multiplication going on, I need to do the opposite, right? So if I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication, I'm going to divide by t. And when I divide by t, I get r equals exactly that, d over t. And that's about as simple as I can make it, okay? Because I don't have any numbers there, I can't simplify the fraction. They're just variables. There's my answer right there. I've solved for r, okay? B, I have, again, d equals r times t, but this time I want to solve for t. So I'm going to do the exact same thing because, again, there's multiplication going on here. I need to do the opposite. So I'm going to divide by r. So you can see these examples aren't that hard. I'll get t equals d over r. And it's not that bad, but the examples do get a little bit harder when we move on. Okay, but I'm just trying to show you that all we're doing here is we're finding a variable that they're asking us to solve for and getting it by itself. Okay, everything else is on the other side. And again, it doesn't matter which way you go. I could have the t on this side and the d and the r on this side as long as it's by itself. So, example number 2, doing the exact same thing, says rewrite the formula for L, and it's just a cursive L. So we have P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. This one's a little bit harder. If I want to get the L by itself first, I need to get rid of the stuff that's being added to it. Okay, so first step is I'm going to subtract 2W from both sides. And these are not like terms, so I can't combine them. I can't do any addition or subtraction. I'm just going to say P minus 2W equals 2L. Okay? And now, if I look, I want to get the L by itself. What is going on with this 2 here? Well, it says 2 times L. So again, if it's being multiplied, then I need to do the opposite. So I'm going to divide by 2. And again, there's nothing I can simplify here, so I'm just going to leave it exactly how it is. So my answer is P minus 2W over L, over 2, got ahead of myself there, equals, these 2's cancel out, so I'm left with L. And there we go. That's example number 2. I solved the equation for L. Okay. Most of these equations you're going to be able to solve in 1 or 2 steps. Okay. So number 3, it says rewrite the equation for y. So now we have something that you're probably more familiar with. It's not a formula, it's just a basic equation. And here we're going to do something we probably haven't done in a while. So if we look at our example here, it says 3x times y plus 4 times y equals 12. Or I could say 3xy plus 4y equals 12. Okay, so it's probably been a while since you've done this, but we do remember the distributive property, right? And the distributive property says that if we have something being multiplied, we have to distribute it in. But because we can do that, because we can distribute in, we can also take something out as long as it has it in common. And what I see is that I have a y here and a y here. And since this is what I want to get by itself, it'd be a lot easier for me to say, well, this equation right here, this side of the equation, I can actually take out the y since it's in both terms and make it 3x plus 4. okay? And if that seems kind of weird to you, just take a look at this one and say, if I was to apply the distributive property, I would multiply the y's in, and I would get exactly this piece of the equation up here. I would get 3xy plus 4y, okay? So because you can go one way, you can also go the other way. And I often call this undistributing. Oops, if I could spell there. So basically I'm undistributing the y. And now that I have y by itself, or I don't have it by itself, but I have it so there's only one. It's going to make it a lot easier to get it by itself now. So now if I look, if I want to get this by itself, all that's happening with y is that it's being multiplied by this big thing. And since it's being multiplied by this big thing, I can actually just divide by that big thing. And if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. So when I divide here, this is just a big 1. These cancel each other out. I get y equals, and actually I could simplify this because I have 3 and 4 and they both go into, oh no I can't, I'm sorry, I can't simplify that. So I get 12 over 3x plus 4, okay? And I've solved for y, y is by itself, nothing else I can do there, I am done, okay? Some of the problems in the homework, they're going to ask you to actually plug in answers once you get here, but this is the main difficult part. Plugging in numbers should be pretty straightforward, okay? So this has been rewriting formulas and equations.